Okay.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Herold here on Badlands Media. I'm your host, John Herold. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend, and I believe we got plenty to discuss today. There's been some good news this today, Monday, but also from what happened over the weekend. Yeah, how are you guys doing in the chat? Looks like we got most of the regulars in here already, which is great. We'll talk a little bit about the Charlie Kirk stuff. Not going to get into the conspiracy angle. We'll talk about the memorial a little bit. Yeah, the most of it's news, though, or headlines, I should say. Seeing if anything is jumping out at me in the chat, but nothing yet. But thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up if you don't mind. Are you guys hearing me all right? I'm using a different browser today. So let me know if there's any issue with the audio coming through. But while I'm waiting, I'm going to get a word from our sponsors of today's show. First up, we got Vanman. Vanman is taking down big toothpaste with all natural oral care, just pure effective ingredients for a healthier smile, and the van never stops. Now try Vanman's new chewing gum as an all-natural alternative to traditional chewing gum with none of the synthetics and plastics found in the big name brands. Instead, it has all the tools to remineralize your teeth and keep them healthy. It's powered by hydroxyapatite, which is nature's secret weapon, loaded with minerals like eggshells and bone, two of the best forms of calcium to remineralize your teeth and build strong bone tissue. Vanman's tooth powder combined with pulling oils and peppermint aloe mouth rinse is truly the ultimate fluoride-free dental hygiene bundle that saves you 25% off the individual prices. Head on over to badlandsmedia.tv/vanman to hop in the van for the ultimate way to care for your teeth naturally. That's badlandsmedia.tv/vanman. MedBeds Co. It's not how you sound, it's how you look, and you look marvelous. What a nice thing to say. Love it when guys tell me how good I look. It's just awesome. We also got Save Pulse. Save Pulse is dedicated to keeping you and your family healthy with top quality medications like amoxicillin, azithromycin, ivermectin, and hydroxychloroquine at unbeatable prices. The streamlined ordering process makes it easy to stock up on all your health essentials. And now with exciting news about fenbendazole showing promise in cancer research, they proudly offer this alongside their other antibiotics and viral care meds. So don't wait. Prepare for any health scenario today. Get your supply and stay ahead of the curve with Save Pulse. Go to badlandsmedia.tv/meds. Use promo code SAVEHEALTH at checkout to get a 20% discount on orders over $100. That's badlandsmedia.tv/meds. And I do think it's always a good idea to stay prepared. You should have some of that stuff stocked up just in case. And we will get into the big announcement that Trump is going to be discussing today at some point, having to do with autism. So that should be, I think we have a story on what it's going to be. I don't know what time it's going to be announced, though. Bayotistic, what about when gay men say you're looking good, John? I mean, it's a compliment regardless. Doesn't mean I necessarily like it. Lee Walden, best opinion I've heard to date regarding Charlie wasn't assassinated for what he said. It's who he was listening to. Or it's who was listening. From Colonel Douglas McGregor. Yeah. We'll Jeff Hyatt says, does Save Health have methylene blue? I don't know if they do, but I know Jordan Sather does. If you send me a message on Twitter or something, I can connect you guys. Anyway, let's jump through a couple things really quick, and then we'll get to the memorial, and then we'll get into the headlines. So first up, let me get my screens all shared here. All right, there's no update on the Doge website, no update on the president. Well, actually, there are some updates on the presidential website. And these were all Friday, and I believe they took place after the show. Friday, Trump had an executive order signing or an Oval Office event where he did a couple things, mostly to do with immigration. And let's talk about that. So we got the official release of the gold card. we've been waiting on this. I had a post not long ago. Like there was all this buildup for it, and they said it was coming, and then they kind of stopped talking about it for 3 months after they announced that the website was live and everything. And finally, we have the executive order actually talking about it. The requisite gift amount is going to be $1 million for an individual donating on his or her own behalf, and $2 million for a corporation or similar entity donating on behalf of an individual. And then we also have this, which is restricting the entry of certain non-immigrant workers. This has to do with the H-1B, and I have a couple stories on this, and maybe we should just jump over to that. Yeah, so right here. Trump has announced sweeping overhaul of the H-1B visa program. He signed a proclamation Friday that is going to dramatically reshape the H-1B visa system. The order imposes a $100,000 fee on applications. I need to rearrange here. Hold for processing, guys. Let's do this. There we go. Okay. The order imposes a $100,000 fee on applications, which the administration says is necessary to curb overuse and protect U.S. jobs. The proclamation bars entry under the H-1B program unless the payment is made, with Trump arguing that abuse of the visa pathway has displaced American workers. The president also directed the labor secretary to begin revising prevailing wage levels for H-1B holders, aiming to prevent companies from using the visas to undercut U.S. wages. The fact sheet describes the changes as critical to national security, claiming that American workers are being replaced by lower-paid foreign labor. 100% true. The administration said the revisions are designed to stop wage suppression and encourage more Americans to pursue STEM careers while ensuring legitimate H-1B filings move forward without abuse. They also issued the separate order, the gold card we just talked about, designed to fast-track visas for those willing to pay a steep price. I think this is all great. The $100,000 fee on applications, I read a few stories that said that this was going to be an annual thing they have to do. Either way, this is a substantial price, because on top of, like, if you want to bring somebody in to the country on an H-1B visa, these companies were bringing in like all the riffraff and anybody could use it. It was totally abused. And then they pay these people very small wages. And if this is an annual thing, which I need to, I can even check on that real quick. This is the 100K. Because if it is annual, like this will pretty much root out all of a majority of the abuse within the H-1B visa program. It's saying it's a one-time fee, not an annual fee. It applies only to new petitions. Renewals and current visa holders are exempt. That's a little frustrating. This has been repeatedly clarified by the White House after initial confusion. So yeah, the post I was reading, I was confused. I would have liked to see this be annually, but still $100,000 fee up front. Like that's a substantial investment for these businesses that want to bring in these H-1B visa workers. I wonder if there's going to be any changes or anything to farmers, because I know Trump has said in the past that, if you like your immigrant, you can keep your immigrant type thing. And maybe that's why he's doing it just on new visa holders. But it's a great move. The immigration process and programs we have in the United States generally have been a net negative. You will get some people every now and then that come in that actually contribute, but most of the time it's these businesses doing it to undercut American jobs and American citizens. So I don't see how something like this could negatively impact the America First agenda. It's a good thing, not a bad thing, says Phil Scarborough. Totally agree. Richard Rohr, how come most EOs aren't listed publicly? Does it have anything to do with being peds? Asking for a friend. They all are, for the most part, listed publicly. They're definitely on the Federal Register. Is John going gray, or is it just my monitor? Am I going gray? My hair, so I haven't had a haircut in a while, and when I don't get haircuts in a while, the grays really start to shine through. John, that lotion makes you look younger, kid. Appreciate that. It's the soft disclosure, which we'll talk about here a little bit later. But all right, that's all from the White House website, other than every now and then you'll get these recognition days or Constitution Week, whatever. But let's talk the Charlie Kirk Memorial. So it was 10 hours I know Badlands hosted. Jessica did a great job getting that stream going. It was very widely covered. There was 90,000 people in the arena. I think there was a lot more on the outside, but the official numbers came in today. It was 90,000. Well attended, very well attended. Great lineup of speakers. It was a very good memorial of Kirk, and I think it's kind of laying the foundation of his legacy, you know. And I know that people have different opinions on Kirk and TPUSA. I have different opinions of TPUSA. One of the things that actually stood out to me the most, and what I wonder if I have this video in here. Did I save it? It might take me a second to get this pulled up, but I did. No, here, let me do it this way. Hold for processing. I'm going to get this pulled up. But one of the comments Trump made had to do with elections and our fraudulent elections. And I thought it was ironic. Like, here you are celebrating the memory of Charlie Kirk and his organization and talking about the impact it had and the impact it had in the elections, on top of like going into college campuses and activating the youth and spreading the message of Christ and whatnot. But specifically related to elections, it had to do with registering voters for a fraudulent election system, which we have said time and time again is kind of it's silly. Like, registering people for a fraudulent election system doesn't do anything. You're emboldening the system. And so Trump, while he was there, made the comment about how rigged our elections are. Trump, Kirk. Sorry, I just got to save this. It's going to take a minute to get loaded in. So I'm like trying to talk while I'm doing this, and it's going to end up being stupid anyway. But let me see if I can get it. Here we go. We'll let that load in. But what did you guys think of the thing yesterday? Doctored evolution. Just be happy to have Hair John. Yeah, I am. Wisdom shows through silver. When I used to be a fundraiser for the Catholic school system, a lot of the people I were talking to were older, retired alumni. I used to wish I had more gray hair, because you're absolutely right. Like, people will sometimes take you more seriously when you have gray hair and you don't look so young. Now I kind of regret some of those comments. Joanne Pappas, except Tucker, he can eat doo-doo instead of hummus. Yeah, Tucker had an interesting comment. I didn't even watch anybody's full. The two people I watched were Erica and Trump. And Trump's too. Like, I didn't have really any expectations of what to or what it would be like, because Trump is, as far as I'm concerned, never has given comments at a memorial like this, like a funeral type service. But Trump has different speeches and different tones, different deliveries for different audiences and different occasions. He kind of changes his messaging and changes his feel, like whether he's more somber or more serious or more angry or more funny or more animated, whatever. It all depends on the situation. And I wasn't sure what to expect with yesterday, because he's never given one like that. And it felt off. And I'm not trying to be conspiratorial or anything. I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't expect what we got from Trump, if that makes sense. And I'm not even sure if I'm describing it appropriately. It didn't, to me, the way what he said and the way he delivered it didn't fit the moment. But I mean, it's Trump. So that's never been an issue. I'm not saying it's an issue. And again, I'm not trying to be conspiratorial or anything. But yeah, let's play a couple clips here. So let me pull up Tucker's. And actually, while I'm doing that, I'm going to play the comment about the election.
Charlie Kirk was without a doubt among the most influential figures in the most important election in the history of our country. The election of, that beautiful day, November 5th, 2024. Do you remember that day? It was 9 months ago. What a day that was. I mean, we had a pretty good day in the first one. And I must tell you, on the second one, we had a phenomenal day. But a lot of bad things happened. And now that's not even questioned. They cheated like dogs. But we got them back, didn't we, huh? Got them back.
Interesting comments. right there in front of the huge crowd, talking about Charlie Kirk and TPUSA and their role in the elections. And he says how rigged our election system is. He hasn't gotten away from that. And I do hope at some point we get some sort of disclosure on that. Maybe we will. We shall see. But then here's Tucker's. And some people like this, some people don't. He's definitely very likely insinuating something here. So take a listen.
And it actually reminds me of my favorite story ever. So it's about 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem, and Jesus shows up and he starts talking about the people in power, and he starts doing the worst thing that you can do, which is telling the truth about people, and they hate it, and they just go bonkers. They hate it, and they become obsessed with making him stop. This guy's got to stop talking. We've got to shut this guy up. And I can just sort of picture the scene in a lamplit room with a bunch of guys sitting around eating hummus, thinking about what do we do about this guy telling the truth about us? We must make him stop talking. And there's always one guy with the bright idea, and I can just hear him say, I've got an idea, why don't we just kill him? That'll shut him up. That'll fix the problem.
Yeah, people didn't like him saying that, heavily insinuating the same group of people that killed Jesus, killed Charlie Kirk. We'll see, guys. I mean, this investigation, whether or not, how do I want to say this? You know, Saturday's Power Hour, me and Chris, we talked about the first principles approach, and, you know, some people are out there saying the thing was faked and he was never killed in the first place. And the first principles approach itself, like that's the underlying event. You can't, if you weren't there to witness it or whatever, if you don't have direct knowledge, you can't accept that to be true, right? And it gets really difficult to do that in situations like this. And Chris is a first principles through and through guy, and he's operating under that. I still can't get myself to get on board with it. I can't get myself to believe it was fake. So I'm not gonna do that. But everything around it, the event itself happened, everything around it, and what we know about it, what we think we know, that's what's still so convoluted. And I think Kash Patel came out and kind of acknowledged this. There's some interesting things taking place, and keep in mind, all of Con Inc., all of Charlie Kirk's friends, all of these people, they don't want to talk about any of this for whatever reason. There's a huge subset of the mainstream conservative movement that wants to just move on. Like, no, let's just move on and fight for Charlie's legacy and all these things. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing to fight for Charlie's legacy. I think, yeah, let's do that. But also, we shouldn't move on, especially when we know that we get lied to about everything. And if it becomes true that we've been lied to about what actually went down here and how it went down, I think that's going to present a big problem for a lot of people that have been saying, yeah, let's not talk about that. You are going to go to hell if you talk about that. And that's what some of these people are saying. There's the guy from Babylon Bee, what's his name? I have the clip here. Seth Dillon. He posted this: that everyone close to Charlie has to keep talking or taking time away from grieving to address false claims and conspiracies is disgraceful. To the ghouls monetizing Charlie's murder, the price of those controversy clicks is your soul. I mean, there are people out there throwing a whole bunch of conspiracy and clickbait and stuff at the wall, and they are monetizing. Like there are people trying to take advantage of it, as they do with every situation. That is what it is. But to insinuate that these people know the full truth of what happened here, and to question that, you're giving up your soul. I don't know. I can't get on board with that. And let me play two clips here. One, this is from Steve Bannon's show, War Room.
So I was in line with people for 3 hours talking to all the folks, and they were Christians, and they were happy, and they had families, and they were lovely people. And I started talking to them, and they were happy and prayerful, and none of them that I spoke to believed that the shooter that they got and have arrested actually did it. and they are
the war room posse. It's 0%.
they were angry.
Same with our chat.
They don't need that. They don't. Not saying this guy's not a bad guy and an evil guy,
Right.
But they think something, and this is why Kash Patel did announce today that the FBI has officially expanded the investigation. My big fear was you would get a lone wolf, lone gunman, and Utah police, and everybody want to shut it down. I think Kash said today that they've expanded it out because we have to.
Forever.
So keep in mind who's saying this here. This is Steve Bannon. This isn't some random internet podcaster like me. This is Steve Bannon, the guy connected to Trump, a guy that, in my series, I've speculated this guy is even much more involved than people realize. He wrote Trump's inauguration speech. He was there at the NSC with Ezra Cohen-Watnick and Rich Higgins and Steve Harvey and all these people, like trying to weed out the deep state from the NSC on Trump's command. And they all left around the same time, and then Q drop started, all those things. Like, I think this guy is intimately involved. He's been at the forefront of a lot of the main narratives many times since War Room started around COVID or whenever it was. Like, this guy is in the know. And he is saying there's a 0% chance it was the Tyler Robinson guy. That is not a small thing to be said. And then when he's referring to about Kash Patel, expanding the investigation, this is what Kash Patel posted on, this was yesterday at noon. He says, as the director of the FBI, I'm committed to ensuring the investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassination is thorough and exhaustive, pursuing every lead to its conclusion. The full weight of America's law enforcement agencies are actively following the evidence that has emerged, but our efforts extend beyond initial findings. We are examining every facet of this assassination. We are meticulously investigating theories and questions, including the location from where the shot was taken, the possibility of accomplices, the text messages confession and related conversations, Discord chats, the angle of the shot and bullet impact, how the weapon was transported, hand gestures observed as potential signals near Charlie at the time of the assassination, and visitors to the alleged shooter's residence in the hours and days leading up to September 10, 2025. In this one paragraph, guys, he puts, including the location from where the shot was taken, and then again, the angle of the shot and bullet impact. They're still looking into this. And he's not afraid to come out, and I'll read the rest of it here in a second, but he's not afraid to come out and call conspiracies. Like, if he wanted to shut down some of these fringe conspiracy, whatever you want to call them, people looking into this and finding weird things about the official narrative that Tyler Robinson shot him from straight on, and the bullet went through his neck, but somehow the bullet that could have taken down a moose, a couple moose and an elk, and gone through steel or whatever, somehow he was strong enough, like he was Superman, and was able to stop that. Like, that doesn't make sense. He could have went and agreed with that, but he didn't. He's saying all the different things that they're investigating here. And maybe at the end of, this investigation that they're doing, the official narrative that it was Tyler Robinson does end up being what we're told happened. Doesn't mean it's the truth necessarily. Regardless of what they say, even if they come out and say it was somebody else, that might not be the truth either. It's going to be hard to know, but he's not shutting it down. That's my point. Some details are known today, while others are still being pursued to ensure every possibility is considered. Our primary focus is to complete this investigation and deliver justice. He does acknowledge some details are known today. He says what they're investigating, but he doesn't tell us which, or maybe he does get into that. Our primary focus is to complete the investigation and deliver justice. To protect the integrity of the investigation and subsequent prosecution, we cannot release every piece of information we have to the public right now. We will ensure every question is addressed at the appropriate time, at the appropriate moment. Regarding specific details, such as questions about the plane that allegedly turned off its transponder after departing from an airport near the assassination site, we can share updates when answers are confirmed. After interviews with the pilot and consultation with the FAA, we determined the transponder was not turned off. Incomplete flight data in rural areas caused the apparent gap. The entire FBI mourns the loss of Charlie Kirk. We will not rest until justice is served. Our investigation into this assassination will continue until every question is answered. So the only thing he's really debunked is the flight thing. But all this other stuff is they're still looking into it. And hypothetically speaking, I don't even like doing hypotheticals, but I'm going to do it anyway because I already started that sentence. What would it mean if they do come out and say, yeah, it actually wasn't Tyler Robinson who shot him? It was from a different angle. It was somebody else. It was a different bullet. And one of these other conspiracy theories are true. What does that mean for all of Con Inc. and all of these mainstream media influencers who were connected to Charlie Kirk directly? What does it mean for them telling us, like, no, stop, move on? It was the tranny thing. I don't know, but I think we'll see what happens. Again, I shouldn't have even said anything because it's a hypothetical. I don't want to get too far ahead. Ricky Irish, are we on the rug, John? We're always on the rug, Ricky. We are always on the rug. Sergeant Sparky, John is sounding more and more like a conspiracy theorist every day and without docs. You know, I don't agree with that. I obviously I'm a document guy. I love seeing documents. That's one of the things that has been, a net negative in my opinion, is ever since the Kirk situation, we have had significantly less disclosure in terms of declassified documents, which are some of my favorite things. You guys know that. The conspiracy stuff that, how do I put this? I look at this and I see two different things, okay, or two different approaches. There's the conspiracy angle, and then there's the first principles angle. Okay, first principles is, and the way that Chris talks about it, and I think that is the right approach to almost everything. Sometimes you're going to get a lot of flack for it when you do it in certain situations, like the Kirk one. You're going to come off and say people are going to think that you're claiming it's fake and all these things. And I'm not going to speak for Chris, but even just because he's saying these things that we're not supposed to believe it doesn't necessarily even mean that he thinks Charlie Kirk is still alive. That's not what he's saying. But there's the first principles approach, which I think is the right approach to take on almost everything. Sometimes that overlaps with the other approach that people are taking, in terms of being called conspiracy theorists and the people who think he faked their death. And that is there's a certain subset of people that are, we'll call them grifters. Okay. And I'm not going to go into specifics here, but there are people that they've carefully created this storyline of how everything we're watching is like this controlled white hat op, right? And then when something very terrible happens, you can't break away and say, okay, well, we've been wrong about everything we've said, and clearly it's there's not full white hat control. You have to somehow fit the situation into that mold. And so they come up with okay, well, clearly the whole thing was fake. It was planned. The whole thing's fake. But then they never address the morality of the good guys traumatizing everybody with this event. But anyway, the first principles approach and that group, sometimes those things overlap. And so, I may be sounding like a conspiracy theory with some of this stuff when I try to use the first principles approach to discuss it. But it's not I don't believe what we're being told. And I think there's legitimate reasons to question what we're being told. And if it comes out that they tell us oh yeah, it was actually some other guy on a different side, different people, Tyler Robinson's a patsy, all these things, then right now, me being called a conspiracy theorist, or anybody who was not accepting Tyler Robinson as a shooter being called conspiracy theorist, that was unjustified. And the people calling him that were wrong. It's just like with COVID. We were called conspiracy theorists for believing that they were trying to do stuff with the vaccines. How many times have we been called conspiracy theorists about things only to end up being right? And now people in our little subset are calling everybody who are questioning things conspiracy theorists. I bet a lot of the people that are saying that, pointing that out, at some point in time, posted something along the lines of, or some sort of meme or whatever, where it's we're running out of conspiracy theories because everything's coming true. Do you know what I'm talking about? Why is it different with this one? It's because it was a very traumatizing thing. Somebody died in a very gross way, and it's hard. The social consequences do not benefit people that are questioning that. I get it. Wahlberg Ford. Alpha's probably the Fed, but he's definitely pro-order follower. Why did we get onto it? John, it would be easier for you just not talk about something you don't know. But that's the thing, like, you guys don't know either. If you're referring to this, nobody knows. Yeah, and I appreciate you guys criticizing me on this stuff. Like, there are earnest people who don't like our approach or my approach or things I talk about or the way I talk about it or my thoughts and whatever. That's fine. Like, earnest disagreement is what has built Badlands and kept us going. Like, that's only going to make people stronger in how they come up with their beliefs and the information we have. There has to be disagreement. If everybody's just on the same page with everything all the time, you're not progressing at all. You're just holding hands, walking into the sunset, only to eventually find out the sunset was actually like a huge pit. So I appreciate you guys disagreeing with me and pushing back on it. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it back to you guys too. We don't know the truth, but we can call it lies. It is people telling us not to question that is a big problem. Yeah. Palin Republican, ignore the sheep, John. Miss Watley, I believe that they made this elaborate story the cover up. The kid is just a patsy. We'll see. We shall see. Phil Scarborough, you take debate well. Some on Badlands Media don't. When I disagree with Chris, he bites my head off. That's Phil Scarborough. I don't know if I necessarily take it well. Nobody likes when people disagree with them. Nobody does. And you know, I said this the other day on my show too. I think my approach to how I formulate opinions or thoughts on things, you know, I don't just willy-nilly formulate an opinion on something without looking into it myself. Like, I know there are certain things that are like, okay, well, I don't know the answer to it, but they're lying. They've lied to us about everything always. Why would this be any different? Why would this be the one time we're finally getting the truth from the government, right? I wouldn't say Chris is. Yeah. I mean, he kind of does bite people's head off sometimes, but he takes like what I just said about my approach. He does the same thing, and he's just very convicted in what he believes in his approach on things, and it's difficult to get him off that point. Anyway, we'll keep going here. Sorry, I got a little lost in the weeds there. Trump is expected to approve the deal this week, restructuring TikTok under U.S. control. He's set to approve the deal. The TikTok U.S. operations are going to be under majority American ownership while placing all user data in a secure U.S.-based cloud, according to a senior White House official. Under the agreement, TikTok's U.S. business will operate as a new joint venture with ByteDance Limited owning under 20% ownership. The board of directors will include 7 members, most of them U.S. citizens with national security and cybersecurity expertise, though ByteDance will be allowed to appoint 1 seat. Oracle is going to serve as the platform's trusted security partner, monitoring data storage and overseeing operations in cooperation with the U.S. government. That's the part I'm not a huge fan of. It's a social media platform. Why is the U.S. government going to be involved in its operations? All American user data will be housed in a dedicated Oracle-run cloud, which I think it already is and has been, isolated from foreign access and protected by advanced security controls. The deal also requires TikTok's algorithm for U.S. users to be retrained, secured, and operated entirely outside of ByteDance's control. ByteDance will duplicate the algorithm and lease it to the new joint venture, with Oracle responsible for retraining and continuously monitoring it to prevent manipulation or surveillance. Officials said the arrangement will allow TikTok to remain interoperable globally while ensuring U.S. users' data stays protected, and the American platform independently enforces its own terms of service against harmful content. Trump is expected to sign an executive order approving the agreement later this week. And we have it confirmed that the U.S. isn't going to actually have a golden share or equity for the United States, which, you know, had they taken an equity stake, I don't think I would have seen a problem with it. My problem comes from what I pointed out here with the operations being run by the government. That's a slippery slope. And then other deals that they've taken, you know, like the DOD got a majority share of MP materials. We have a 10% stake in which is the largest shareholder of Intel now. Those aren't, we're told, like operable shares. Like they're not dictating how the business is actually run. This sounds a little different. We're not taking shares or equity, but we're going to potentially be overseeing the operations. I don't like that at all. The algorithm is going to be overseen by Oracle, they're stating. And Oracle has so many connections to the Trump White House, from Ezra Cohen-Watnick to Larry Ellison and all those things. I just want more details about what exactly the government's role in this is going to be, because long term, if we don't end up fixing our elections, which I want to have faith in Trump and his people that they're going to address it in a big way, and we will get safe and secure elections, and we won't have to worry about this stuff anymore. But let's just say we don't. Let's just say we've been wrong about a lot of things, and over the years, we somehow end up getting a rhino in there, or a Democrat, God forbid, somebody we don't trust. Do we want them to be, again, controlling social media? It's just such a slippery slope. I've been complaining about the free speech since Trump got in there. You know, we were kind of hoping, as Badlands, you know, in our private discussions leading up to the second term from Trump, a lot of us were like we're holding out. Let's just keep plugging away. We know we're censored, even on Rumble. Like, we don't trust the numbers and all these things. YouTube, but all the main platforms, we feel censored. It's true. We're all censored, and it's not just us. It's everybody. But once we get to January 20th, 2025, they're going to lift the restrictions. We're going to be unleashed, and we'll finally be able to reach people that we've never been able to reach. We'll finally have that even playing field. Then we got that executive order from Trump. The free speech one? What was it called? Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, restoring freedom of speech and ending federal censorship. Day one, I was like, yes, let's do it. Here we go. And nothing's changed. We are 8 months in, and it's no different. We're not getting kicked off YouTube as much, so that's cool. We still get the occasional strike. But Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, I know the deal's been in the works. Twitter, all these places, it's still censored. And algorithms generally, I don't think, promote free speech. I think by definition and by design, algorithms are always meant to show the information to the consumers that the creators of the platform and the owners of the platform want them to see. It's the whole, you know, freedom of speech versus freedom of reach and everything. When you have entities controlling the reach of people, that is manipulation of information. It's information warfare. I get it, but I'm just not in favor of it. So I'm curious to see how they handle this, and I'm curious to see how they handle other social media platforms, because it hasn't been fixed. Joanne Pappas, got to push back on these evil people because they will censor us no matter how nice we are. It's not even the people on the opposite side. Like the consequences culture, you know, we don't need to get into that. That's a different animal. But I'm strictly talking information. And this is my thing with Jimmy Kimmel too. Like, I don't care that he got fired. I didn't find it funny. He got fired because he wasn't performing. Everybody's trying to pin it on the whole cancel culture, consequence culture thing. I don't think that's true. Trump took credit for it, like he has for all the late night hosts. And then everybody's making this big push for the, you know, we need the Smith-Mundt Act thing where they can't propagandize American citizens. They did it before anyway. Like, it's not going to change it. We're asking for more government, more laws to fix information in America, but then you need people to determine who's the oracle of truth to determine what is true and what is not. And then you're going to put fines on media people and people online on social media platforms if they don't say the things that the oracle of truth is determining to be the truth. Because how many times would that have bit us in the ass over the last 4 years? So I don't like any of that either. What I want is level playing field. And I don't know how you get that without removing algorithms. Anyway, we'll keep trucking here. Iran pushes nuclear expansion in talks with Russia. So remember, United States took out Iran's nuclear facilities, and now they're, instead of nuclear bombs, we're talking nuclear energy, and they're talking it with Russia. Iran's atomic energy chief, Mohammad Eslami, arrived in Moscow this week to finalize agreements with Russia that include building 8 new nuclear power plants, part of Tehran's plan to generate 20 gigawatts. Is that gigawatts or whatever, GW? I don't know if that's gigawatts, I'm assuming, but I could be wrong, of nuclear capacity by 2040. Eslami said contract negotiations were complete, and with the signing of the deal, we will enter the operational steps. The visit comes in as the UN Security Council weighs whether to reimpose sanctions on Iran's nuclear program. Last week, the council rejected a draft resolution backed by Russia and China to permanently lift sanctions, a move opposed by Britain, France, and Germany, who accused Tehran of violating the 2015 nuclear accord. European nations have offered to delay sanctions for 6 months if Iran restores access for UN inspectors, addresses concerns over its uranium stockpile, and resumes talks with the United States if no agreement is reached by September 27. All UN sanctions are set to return. I don't know, weird story, because we're continually being told that they don't have the capability to build nukes anymore, and so we're going to prevent them from nuclear power plants if they don't confirm that they can't get nukes, which we're told that they can't. The whole thing's weird. We'll see what happens. I think whatever logical resolution that situation comes to is going to be tied to this resolution as well. Hamas appeals to Trump with ceasefire proposal. Hamas has drafted a letter to President Trump seeking his guarantee of a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza in return for the immediate release of half the hostages still held in the territory, according to a senior Trump administration official and another source directly involved in the talks. The letter is expected to reach Trump this week. The president has repeatedly urged Hamas to release all hostages taken during the October 7th, 2023 attack, and has positioned himself as a mediator in efforts to bring an end to the conflict. So remember, Hamas was in Qatar. They were going through the original peace proposal from the Trump administration. And while they were there, Israel bombed they were in Doha, I think. Israel bombed them, took them out. And now this is in the aftermath of that. Hamas is like ready to, let's do the ceasefire in Gaza. Let's do it. But again, this is such an interesting situation. And I'm not even going to pretend to be an authoritative source on the ins and outs of it. I would defer to Ghost. But it's super interesting, and there is some compelling things going on with, the criticisms of Israel. I know some people don't want to hear it, and I'm not saying Israel as a whole, just like the Bibi Netanyahu and his people, like what they are pushing for and the actions they've taken, in my opinion, have only prolonged the conflict here. And I'm just more curious to see how Trump ultimately ends up handling this quagmire, because that's what it is. It's a quagmire. Let's keep going here. Trump is, I already did that one. Here's one. There's a convention of states push being made, and Trump himself on Truth Social posted this, which is why I think it's worth discussing. Because I don't think, as far as I remember, I don't recall him being like an advocate for the whole convention of states situation. But this is him on Truth Social. He posted the article we're about to go through. This is a new post 28 minutes ago. I'm going to read it real quick, and then we'll get back to the Convention of States. I just concluded a wonderful call with the highly respected president of Kazakhstan, Kassym-Jomart Kemalievich Tokayev. They have signed the largest railroad equipment purchase in history, $4 billion worth of United States locomotives and rail equipment. We need to support our U.S. rail industry, which has been attacked by fake environmentalists for years. Congratulations to President Tokayev on his great purchase. This country and the world was built on reliable, beautiful railroads. Now they will be coming back fast. Okay, well, that's interesting. But anyway, back to this Just the News article. So Convention of States, they had their convention, its annual national conference in Indianapolis. They call to rein in expansive federal spending, term limits, and the power of the federal government, despite President Trump's mandate to do so. The Convention of States, driven by Citizens for Self-Governance, is a grassroots effort to utilize Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution to convene a limited state convention. It enables delegates to propose amendments targeting federal fiscal restraint, reduced government authority, and term limits for Congress and officials. To initiate the convention, 34 states, or 2/3, must pass resolutions. Any proposed amendments during the convention would require ratification by 38 states, or 3/4, to become law, which supporters claim is the stopgap preventing what critics warn could devolve, love that word, into a runaway convention. 19 states to date have passed the Conventions of States Article 5 application, with an additional 6 states granting passage in one chamber, but not yet the other. So that gets to 25. 21 other states are actively considering the Convention of States resolution. I just think this is notable. The timing of it, I mean, it's on the heels of their convention. So yeah, it makes sense there's an article about it, but Trump sharing it, man, I wonder. There's a huge push for the Convention of States stuff back in, was it 2021, 2022, after the stolen election? The Article 5 convention process has never been utilized in history, with all 27 constitutional amendments originating from Congress. Supporters claim it enables states to curb federal overreach independently, while opponents warn that it might exceed its intended scope, despite protections like focused agendas and separate ratification process. Never been used. That is interesting. And I do think back to Trump's True Social post where it's unprecedented fraud requires unprecedented cure or solution or something. We'll see what happens. I already went over this. Patel outlining the latest developments. Oh, there's this story that surfaced. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I did think it was notable considering the fact that it was reported on and confirmed by the White House that it happened. Border czar Tom Homan was investigated by the DOJ for potential bribery, MSNBC reports. He was investigated by federal law enforcement last year and allegedly accepted $50,000 in cash from agents who were posing as business executives seeking government contracts, MSNBC reported on Saturday, in a probe that Trump administration officials now say turned up no wrongdoing and decried as politically motivated. MSNBC reported that Homan indicated he could help the undercover agents win contracts, and the FBI and Department of Justice had planned to wait and see if Tom Homan would deliver on that. But the case was ultimately stalled and then closed under the Trump administration. MSNBC reported that the alleged meeting between Homan and agents took place in September and was captured by hidden cameras. So agents went to Tom Homan. They tried to record him and get him to doing something illegal. This is before Trump won the election. This is before he was, officially part of Trump's administration. I would be interested to see the recordings and the transcripts of the recordings to know exactly what was said here. Because if it's true that he accepted money on the promise of, helping people get federal money, tax dollars, I don't think that's cool. I don't think that's okay. I'd like to see the justification for it actually being shut down, because they have not confirmed any details of the investigation beyond the Trump admin acknowledging that it took place. Something like this, I think they should be a little more public about, other than just denying. I mean, I get that they didn't come to any, no wrongdoing was found, but you have agents on our tax dollars going out investigating somebody who's now, the deportation czar, getting paid by our tax dollars. Like, did he accept money under the promise of delivering federal grants to people? MPG Stewart, more likely Homan was leading the agents along, hoping to trap them. Maybe. But we don't know without seeing, right? And I know it's fake news, but the Trump administration officials allegedly confirmed the probe took place and has been closed out. So I just want to see more. If it actually happened, I want to see the truth of what happened and how it happened. I want to know what the investigation actually came to. And I think just in terms of transparency from this administration, which we like to call the most transparent administration in history, they should be okay with doing that. I don't think that's too big of an ask. Steve Moran pushes a case for central bank to slash key interest rate. He's the one guy who this last vote on the 17th said that he wanted a bigger push. So he did not vote along with everybody else for the 25 basis point cut. He thinks it should be in the low 2%. It's a very low number. Less than a week after taking his seat, Federal Reserve Governor Steve Moran on Monday outlined the reasons why he thinks the central bank's benchmark interest rate is far too high, should be lowered aggressively. Changes in tax and immigration policy, along with easing rental costs, deregulation, and incoming revenue for tariffs are creating a different economic landscape that allow the Fed to cut its benchmark rate by nearly 2%. I think this could be the guy Trump taps to be the next Fed chair. You know, a couple months ago, you know, from like 2 to 6 months ago, there's been this huge anti-Powell thing, maybe even before that. But they were discussing like, okay, who's going to be our next Fed chair? Who's going to be our next Fed chair? There was talk of this shadow Fed appointment, shadow chair, Fed chair, which I wish they would have done it. I wish they still have time to do it. I think Powell's in there till May of next year. And so he's coming out saying this is where our rates should be. What if they came out and nominated him as like, yeah, this is going to be our next Fed chair? How would that affect the markets, knowing that this is his mindset? Here's the big story from today. Allegedly, Trump administration is reportedly planning to link autism to Tylenol use during pregnancy. They're expected to make an announcement this Monday, today, that the women's use of Tylenol is potentially linked to autism. Federal health officials are expected to warn women against using Tylenol early on in pregnancy unless they have a fever. The Post reported on Sunday, citing 4 people familiar with the matter. So it could be bullshit, but a lot of the times they talk about this. You know, I'm critical of people using anonymous sources, but it's rare that they've been wrong when it comes to what these announcements from the Trump administration are going to be. They're also going to highlight a form of folate known as leucovorin as a potential autism treatment. The Department of Health and Human Services and the White House did not immediately respond to comment. He said Saturday that he'd make an announcement related to autism on Monday. I don't know if we know the time. So if somebody in the chat does know, you can throw that in there. I have a couple things I want to quickly cruise through before the show wraps up here. There was... Oh, Elon Musk and Trump were spotted together at Charlie Kirk's thing. Little reunion. Here is quick clip.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Secretary P.S.
So, friendly again. Maybe a little reunion. We have this story. The Stormers Arrive post this. Great account on Twitter to follow. Talking about some sources and what they're saying about James Comey in the next couple of weeks. Take a listen.
And by the way, guys, I just want to make it very clear. This isn't just about the New York Attorney General. That office is also investigating a statement made to Congress by former FBI Director James Comey back in 2020. And the statute of limitations on that issue elapses in a little over a week. So our sources are telling my colleague Carol Lenig and I that we should look for a potential indictment of the former FBI Director James Comey out of that office in the next week. The stakes are very high here. The Trump administration is explicitly doing with this message from Donald Trump exactly what it accused the Biden administration and the Biden Justice Department of doing without evidence, by the way. Those accusations were totally without evidence, weaponizing and politicizing the Justice Department against the president's political enemies. That's out in the open now. We've been warning about it. We've been discussing it for months. This message from Donald Trump really lays it all bare. And what's happening in the Eastern District of Virginia is just stunning, really. I mean, we saw them drop a case against the mayor of New York for what looked like political reasons. We had not yet seen them try to bring a case over the objections of career prosecutors for what looks like political reasons. And that's what's coming to pass here. And it's really, really, it's unprecedented. We say unprecedented all the time, but this is really a watershed moment for the justice system in the United States.
Statute of limitations coming up. James Comey would love to see it. I do want to see us get back to like the disclosure stuff, the Rico Grande thing. We haven't heard a peep about that in like almost 2 weeks. I'm really excited to get back on track with that. But yeah, guys, I think that's all I got for today's show. I want to get a quick ad from Soft Disclosure in. So let me do that real quick.
Deodorant should do more than cover you up. It should protect you all day long.
Dude, the deodorant stick is legit. I like the mint one. And, you know, you go work out and you kind of get like, you know, you get funky if you work out. Dude, like at the end of my workout, like I'm sweating, shirt got all those sweat. Like I'm like, dude, I still smell good. Like I absolutely love it. If you guys haven't tried it, try it.
That's the difference with Soft Disclosure. No aluminum, no chemicals, just clean, natural ingredients that fight odor and keep you fresh through every workout, every meeting, every moment.
I've always struggled with the like you can't use aluminum deodorant because you're going to die if you use it kind of thing, because all of the non-aluminum aluminum deodorant products suck pretty much. This is different. This is all day. You're all day good, and you're not putting any of that disgusting chemicals right near your lymph nodes.
Soft Disclosure deodorant. Real protection. Real freshness. Built on truth. Available in mint and lemon grapefruit. Visit softdisclosure.com and use promo code Badlands for 15% off.
Soft disclosure. Soft disclosure, guys. Great way to support Badlands Media. Great products. Go check out the website. Read the reviews. They're fantastic. Rumble rants. Let's go through a couple of these. Rob Wynn PA 67. Here's my opinion as a 68-year-old professional gay guy. Yes, John is handsome, even with the gay haircut. However, Ghost is the best looking Badlands male. Wow. There's a lot to pack in there. But thank you. And I do resent the gay haircut. Wouldn't the gay haircut make me more attractive to the gays? Not sure how that works. Harry Vetch for $1 says, as a PAC, I think my gray hair increases my credibility by +5. I also get +2 to credibility with my white coat. PA, physician's assistant, is that what that is? Harry Vetch, so I'm already +7 years to my credibility with patients. Large, hard to pronounce words have different effect based on the target. Yep, D&D and WOW nerd here. Dungeons and Dragons, World of Warcraft. I never got into those. I had some friends who did. I played Risk a lot, or like chess, and then we ended up playing like blackjack and poker. But yeah, the games I used to play, we never got into the Dungeons and Dragons or World of Warcraft. It was always Risk and chess. 12 boy, good to see you, Ty. I always assume they are trying to get us looking at something else when events happen. That is true, man. Good to see you. Your Colts won again, didn't they, yesterday? And Carson Wentz, did you see that performance? Vikings kicked some butt yesterday. The Super Bowl run has begun. Herold Patriot, yesterday our little rural town of 2,000 held a vigil for Charlie. That's really cool. There's a large turnout. As it got started, the police shut it down due to an online threat of shooter coming to crash it. That's insane. Where are you from, man? That is crazy. I do think we're in for some rough times ahead with some of this clash going on. I don't think the left is going to become less violent. Like, that is real. The left is violent. And people capitalize on that. Like, well, anyway. The final demand, earnest disagreement wrote the Constitution of the United States of America. Earnest disagreement is the reason we are awake. Because we ask questions, the day we stop, that is the day we lose this country. I totally agree with that. We may not agree with some of the things being pushed by some of the people, but I can at least promise you that everybody in Badlands is they're doing it for the right reasons. Like, people with legitimate criticisms, they are in this for the right reasons. Everyone in there could have gone on and gotten more money. Every one of them, they believe in the mission of Badlands. We don't agree on everything. Some people's approaches are way out there and turn people off. And at some points, like, there are people that I could have cut along the way, just because people didn't like their approach to things. But that's not what I'm about either. It's not what we're there for. You're absolutely right. Disagreement, like, the day we stop questioning these things and start like, oh no, you can't say that because that doesn't make me feel good. When time and time again it's been proven that those things that don't make you feel good end up being like, oh yeah, I guess they were true. Like, what about had people said back on September 12th, 2001, like, oh yeah, our government did this. They did 9/11. That wouldn't have felt good. That wouldn't have been the socially acceptable thing to say. Now it's like mainstream. Keith Higgins, don't mean to sidetrack your train of thought, but Trump just signed a big railroad deal with the Kazakhstan. Another nail in the Amtrak Joe Biden's coffin. Choo-choo. Love it. Thank you, Keith. Good to see you, man. Harry Vetch for $5. I played Risk and put us through college with Texas Hold'em. Yeah, I like some Texas Hold'em too. I had one buddy who, big time gambler. He actually went on to be like, he would go to Vegas every weekend and just to play blackjack, the high stakes places. He got kicked out of a few casinos because I think he was counting cards. But when we were younger, in like junior high and high school, we used to play when we'd play blackjack at his house. he would be the house. He would be the dealer every time. Well, one, because he like had money and could afford to be the house, but because he knew the house always wins, right? And he loved it. Yeah, those were good times. Anyway, I got to get out of here, guys. So you guys have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. I'm going to send you over to Y-Chromes. We're going to raid them. And then I'll be back on tonight with Baseless Conspiracies at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, and then back again tomorrow right here on the Daily Herald. You guys have a great rest of your Monday.
Extra, extra, read all about it. 2, 3. Let's get started.
That's what she said.
Oh, that's real good.
Why they stopping me? Stopping me.